A very good afternoon, everyone. I am Neha Khanna. I am Manager Occupational Therapy at Mom's Belief. Lovely afternoon. Today we have planned a webinar to enlighten you on the understanding sensory processing. We have with us Dr. Amrapali. She is renowned occupational therapist working in the field since 20 years. She has uh, she is the head of Milestones Occupational Therapy Center in Gurgaon. She is working very hard with the children of developmental disabilities, autism, ADHD in planning, assessing, planning intervention, giving protocols. She leads the team of occupational therapists and provides assessment and intervention to the clinical therapist how to deal with these children. So welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Neha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I see primarily we have parents in our audience today. So the idea of reaching out to the parents is first of all to understand, because sensory integration is a very broadly used term, and I often come to hear of the parent coming and saying, "Ma'am, sensory hai bataya gaya hai," right? So if we can understand that what is sensory, where do we define sensory, how do we um, how do we say when it is sensory, where is it behavior,
Right,
so
ma'am. Absolutely.
this is a constant tussle between occupational therapists and psychologists to decide that where do we draw the line, and where do we say this is a sensory and this is a behavior, because we seem to be pushing from one therapist to the other saying ये तो हमारा area नहीं है, this is a sensory difficult.
Unnecessarily sometimes when there is not intervention required of particular domain, the child is there and it is not being transferred to other person, or there is no knowledge about where the child should be transferred to.
Absolutely. So I think empowering the parents is one of the biggest things that we can do, and letting them also question that if you are doing so, then why is it so? So, coming back to what we're going to do today, I'm going to be talking about the specific areas of sensory integration. First of all, how do we identify? As parents, how do we identify? Secondly, when the integration or the sensory integration therapy is happening, then how do we monitor? I think that is a very important part of it, that all of us, there is no standardized medium of monitoring things. So we'll talk a little bit about how do we monitor that your child is moving ahead. And lastly, I'll be open for questions. So you can either put it in your chat box. I find it very distracting to read chat boxes, so I'll ignore those questions immediately. I'll attend to them later on. And you can also reach out, verbally ask your questions at the end of the session. And even in between the session is also good, because I know as parents often there is a question, that you feel, oh, my child does this, how does this relate, I can relate to this, and why is this happening? So please feel free to put in your questions. I'll do my best to answer, right? So I'm going to go ahead with it. I can still see people joining us, but since we have a time limitation, I'll just go ahead with the presentation. So I'm, is everybody able to see the screen? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, just to basically understand what is sensory integration, the main thing is we have to see that our body is like a computer. So the way we are all sitting in front of our laptops, and we have one input device on which we are typing and writing and giving the input into the system. Then there is the CPU, or the central processing unit in your computer, which processes all the information that you're typing in. And then there is an output device, which in the computer is obviously, it is probably if you've given a command of something and there is a execution of the command in the computer. Similarly, I just gave this example because sensory integration, it is it is very much like that. There is an input device, which is the part of your body. The central processing unit is your brain, and the output is what the child understands and executes after getting the input. So let's say if my hand is touching something furry, my first impulse would be to withdraw my hand, and my brain in that fraction of a second probably processes that it could be an insect I'm touching, or I did not like that sensation, or I have already felt this and I'm scared of this sensation. So our brain takes probably 30 to 40 seconds to process so much of information. And what is the feedback? The output is the uh, we would probably move our hand, or we would explore more to see what is it, because I could not make sense of it. So and our responses vary from person to person. So in terms of sensory integration, there is nothing like 100% sensory integration. We all have our sensory challenges. We all have limitations in touch, limitations in eating. We all have some amount of limitation. And so when do we go for sensory integration therapy? If your sensory challenges are affecting your day-to-day life, your functionality is getting reduced, then we will go for sensory integration. Otherwise, we can live with it. All of us are living with something or the other, right? So let's talk about the what are the different sensory systems. Now I have enlisted 7 of them here. There is another new one which has been added to this list. I'll talk about that. So here the first 5 are the 5 senses that we talk about since childhood. You know, our kids start learning from class 1, that what are the 5 senses: touch, smell, taste, hearing, and vision. So touch sensitivity is our largest system. It is there in the hands, the whole body. The input device in touch is your skin. So, and since the skin is our largest organ, you know, it kind of covers your entire body. So your touch sensitivity becomes, the sensory experience through touch is the highest input. Okay. If you see small children, they gain experience through touch. A child of 8 to 9 months does not have the awareness of um, this is not touchable, don't touch this, messy, dirty, clean. The child does not have. We give these inputs and we get the child accustomed to this learning, that you should not be touching this, this is something that is dirty. So we teach these things to children. They're not born with this, and that exploration actually teaches a child a lot of sensory information. So when we have a child who is actually avoiding to touch things, their learning kind of gets a little stalled there. You know, in today's environment, uh, right now even more so, because we are telling all our children, do not touch things, sanitize, do not touch things. So obviously we are impacting this to a great extent, but let's not take the last year into consideration. But I'm saying overall, if you see play schools, the Montessori method does encourage a lot of touch and play, which has messy play, playing in the sand. So you see, there is a reason behind it. We need to activate our experiences or gaining sensory experiences through touch.
Ma'am, I would
Now,
also like to add over here that the infant, when the child is born, that the child is also touching the mother. So through there only the initiation of that experience, sensory exploration starts. So,
absolutely.
so
Yeah,
touch is playing the important role since the beginning of a child's development.
absolutely. So when we talk about touch, Now, when we have a deviation in our touch sensitivity, when I say deviation, means the touch can be in our sensory system. We divide our sensory experiences as hypersensitivity, or I would say that touch sensitivity is extremely on a higher end, that you do not like touching things. So, to give an example here, is if somebody asks any of us to pick up a dirty rag, the way a person would pick up a dirty rag is probably with two fingers, and pick it up and give it to somebody. So, a person who has heightened touch sensitivity will obviously avoid touching or exploring things as required. So, one thing we see in children who avoid or who have heightened sensitivity is often that the person does not explore through touch. How they avoid exploring through touch is they will often keep things clutched in their hands. uh, Two balls clutched in the hand, one car which is always being clutched. Some of our kids have shampoo bottles, powder bottles. These things are held in the hand as a protector so that the hand is not open to touching, experiencing inputs which are not liked. So, whatever they are clutching is probably a comforter in their hand. Now, this is one extreme, that my hand is super sensitive. I do not like touching. Now, do we only see this behavior? We see other behaviors where under the feet is also very sensitive. When the touch sensitivity is under the feet is also equally sensitive, then the child might be showing a behavior of toe walking. Now, if we generalize again to our own experiences, many of us have walked into a wet bathroom, and I don't know how about you. When I walk into a wet bathroom, I definitely toe walk, or I curl up my toes like this and I walk with minimum touch. If you go out on a terrace on a hot summer day, you will probably again, if you're barefoot, you will again go on your toes, or you'll curl up your fingers. You'll try and reduce the touch sensitivity to minimum. So, similarly, a child who is trying to avoid sensory input tries to go on your toes. So, we see an overall picture, and Neha can give me an input here that Neha has been designing. We don't have Indian standardized sensory
Assessment tool.
assessment tools. So Neha has been designing a Indianized sensory tool where we can make it sensitive enough to catch all these things. So when there have to be a set of questions wherein if you answer, then only we say that the child has touch sensitivity. It is not that my child does not like to paste things with Fevicol and hence my child has a problem. It's not like that. So we have to have
Yes,
a lot of things which have to tick off in that checklist. Now,
absolutely, ma'am. And also, we generally, as adults, also we like some sensations and we do not like some sensations. So it usually varies from individual to individual, as you told.
hmm,
So it we cannot describe a child as tactile sensitive if he is having difficulties touching one particular object. So we
yes.
have to have a checklist where we can explore which all sensations he is not comfortable touching with and how many times is he doing that thing. Then only we come to that.
So for that we have that entire checklist. But touch, the some of the common behaviors we see: avoidance of touch. Somebody kisses the child will wipe off. If you're feeding the child and there is food on the outside, the child will try to do this or wipe with the clothes. Anything while eating and wiping on the clothes, eating and wiping. This is another behavior that we see. Toe walking is something that we see very commonly.
Not touching
Not
food also. Not
not
touching
touching
food.
food, not trying to wear clothes.
Yes.
Um, some children have difficulty wearing underclothes. They have refusal to wear anything tight, belts. They have challenges wearing socks, shoes, diapers. These are some of the common things that we hear. Hair cutting is
It
usually a challenge. Nail cutting is
massage.
a challenge. So these are all things which come under the touch sensitivity purview. And these, with the sensory integration program, it is absolutely possible to sort it out. Now, when we talk about touch, this is the hypersensitivity. Now, there will be another category of children who have a need or poor registration of touch. I do not know what I am touching. So when they do not know what they are touching, or there is registration, recognition is poor, there is a tendency that you will constantly want to touch things. So they will be, I wore this clothes so that I could explain this, that they will try to feel these knobs on clothes. If you have embroidery on clothes, they try to feel that. Kids try to feel the beard of their fathers, or even our therapists, they love to rub on it. They very typical behavior, walk by touching the walls, cars, the nettings in the park. These are some of the very common behaviors we see. And when the touch is has poor registration, the child often loves messy play. So if you've given food, the child is going to mash up the food, mess it, put it on the face, play with saliva. So we see a lot of these kind of increased or heightened touch needed activities, which is given by the child. I'm going to touch on the oral under this purview only, because I'm not speaking separately on oral motor. A child who has heightened sensitivity inside the mouth, inside the oral cavity as well, will have difficulty in eating. And this is such a common problem with most of our children. And it is a very difficult area for parents, because you want your child to eat. And so there are different ways I see parents trying to feed their children: blended food, mashed food, food which is strained through certain kind of strainers and blended and pureed, and then it is kind of put into the mouth of the child. The child is put in a gravity assisted position so that the food goes down the throat, right? And then this is one extreme. Then there are other extremes wherein the child might be eating only white rice, or it is curd rice, or it is dal chawal, anything which does not have texture. Or in fruits, it might be just banana, because banana doesn't have texture, or papaya or mango. Anything other than fruits is a problem. um, Roti sabzi hai, but roti separate and sabzi separate. The moment you mix two textures, it is a problem. So this, and when we have this, we also might have a child having resistance to brushing your teeth. So these are kind of related issues. So when I sometimes ask parents questions like this, they would say, "Aapko kaise pata? You're meeting us for the first time." But you see, when this is sensitive, I'm sure a lot of people in our audience also will have sensitivity towards having malai in your milk, that you would probably strain your milk and have it. And so a person who has sensitivity towards malai can probably understand that if you put malai in your milk and try to drink it, you're probably going to throw up. You're going to give a gag response. And that is what exactly our children do. So that is your parallel, but the touch sensitivity, if it happens in the oral, it is 100 times higher than what you're facing yourself. So coming to the next.
Ma'am, there is one question which I think we should cater right now. So Mitali has asked, what are the reasons of such activities you just mentioned?
We really don't know. We don't know why these sensory difficulties are happening, but there is definitely an increase in the type of sensory challenges that we are seeing. Like, I've been working for more than 20 years now, and the amount of children I saw with sensory difficulties 15 years back is much more, is right now is much more. So we do not know. There is a lot of research going on in that. One philosophy says that sometimes the brain size is increasing between 18 months and 3 years. So there is a data collection happening on that. It is not yet a published paper, so I'm just saying it, that the head size of the child increases suddenly, and hence the network of your neurons don't talk to each other. So if this one's saying something, it doesn't talk to this one. So your sensory experience does not happen the way it should happen. So that's one philosophy. It's not yet proven, but we do not have any uh, fixed answers to that. Okay. So this is just what I spoke about. Hypoactive means there is reduced awareness, and which means the child is constantly seeking to get awareness. Hyperactive is oversensitivity, so I would avoid. And again, I'm saying there is nothing called 100%. So in our audience, we might have people who can't eat certain types of vegetables, and but they can do everything else in life. So we do not do sensory integration for those people. We only interfere when it affects your day-to-day living, okay, or functionality. So in a touch hyposensitivity, the child may not have activated pain sensation also. So you might have a child who's got a blue colored bruise on the body, but there was no crying, there was no awareness. You might ask, kahan gir gaye the? How did you get hurt? But we do not get a response to that. So I've just put in one example here. I spoke about much more things that you will see. And there is a fluctuation between hyposensitive and hypersensitive. Sometimes it's difficult for the parents to understand. I think that is something a therapist will be able to understand and design a plan accordingly. Here I will give one example that all of us would have probably faced, that sound sensitivity. We all have variable sound sensitivity on variable days. If you see yourself that you put on your television and you're okay hearing it at a certain volume, but if you've had a bad day, by bad day I mean you might have a stressful day, you've had a lot of work in the office, and you enter the house and the television is still on at a certain volume, and that day particularly you might say just shut it off. Or you might have your own kids, like it happens with me, my kids might come and say, I need to tell you all this, and you say, give me 5 minutes. Yeah. So that day your system is hypersensitive. It does not mean every day your system is hypersensitive. That day it cannot regulate, your regulation system is not working, and hence that reaction. But it also means that all of us know that how do we regulate our sensory system. When we work with children who have sensory difficulties, as the child grows older, we try to build in this knowledge of sensory awareness into the child, so that the child becomes aware that what is going to neutralize this sensory overload that I'm facing. Okay, so a lot of us, like I speak for myself, if I have had a tough day and I'm like, I can't listen to anybody, don't talk to me right now, what would I do? I would probably listen to some music, or I would read a book. That helps me regulate and come down to a place where in 10 minutes time I can say, okay, bring it on. Right. So some people have, everybody has different ways, and I'm sure all of you have, somebody will say, I need a cup of tea. Yeah,
relaxing in a chair.
Absolutely. So we all have our own little bubbles where
maybe
we
go
bring
to a
back
walk.
yes, we bring back our system to a. So another system that we talk about here is the vestibular system, which is the movement based system. Now movement based, because most of our children, they are they show behaviors of movement, and we term them as hyperactive, that they are not sitting, they're constantly on the go, they are pulling, pushing, throwing things, hand flapping. So all these things are visible to a person who is observing the child. Now in this case, it is very important for us to realize that how we need to assess, do we have a child with a hypoactive, which means the system is not activated enough. Now, what is a vestibular system? It is the body's awareness system. It tells you that you're in lying down position, you're in sitting position, your body is turning. So it is the system which tells you When you're in a lift, the lift has started moving. Even without seeing the number counters, you know that the lift is moving. If when you're sitting inside the aircraft, it tells you the aircraft has taken off the ground, even without looking out of the window. You know that it has taken, the wheels of the aircraft have gone off the ground. Something like, it's a common term people use now, butterflies in my stomach. So that is the sensory thing which tells you that your vestibular system is working, right? That's a very what do I say, a very colloquial way of saying it, but that is your vestibular system activation. So it happens inside the ear. And if you are not getting enough input from the system, you will try to do a lot of head shaking. You will try to do, it happens to us if people go for swimming or kaan mein pani ghus jata hai. If you've had that sensory difficulty, that you've had water in your ear, and you'll see people go shake shake like this as if the water is going to come out. It doesn't happen that way. But what also happens is, we see a lot of our kids doing head shaking. We see them rocking side to side. We see them going back and front. So these are all signs and symptoms of there is a vestibular processing difficulty happening there. So I'm not going to go into detail because I see my time is going to be a challenge. So
Also,
let's
it
talk.
helps us in balancing. Vestibular
Yes,
system
it
also
helps
helps
us.
in balancing. And generally, we also, at times, we also do movement forward and backward or sideways when we are sitting idle. It is also helping us in activating our system, that we are not,
Yes.
to be present at what we are doing. So we have to again differentiate whether that is causing problem in our functioning or it is not causing problem in our functioning. Then we need to seek help.
So bottom line for any kind of sensory difficulty is, if it is not affecting your functional life. Like I was seeing a child yesterday online, his mother had shared with me that uh, they had bought a gym ball about 6 months back, and this kid is constantly on the gym ball and jumping on it. He's sitting on the gym ball and he goes up and down. So the mom asked me that, ma'am, is there a problem if he does it? So my question here was that, when you call out to him, is he able to leave the gym ball and come to attend to task, whatever you're asking him to do? And she said, yes, he is. As if you said, pack up the gym ball and let's go and eat our food, let's go down to the park, let's go to sleep. Are these instructions being followed and he's able to disengage from the gym ball? And she said, yes, that happens. I said, then it's not a problem. Then you treat the gym ball as a toy. All our kids play with toys. If they are playing with cars, we don't have a problem. But because it is in our mind that the child has certain sensory needs, then do we need to stop these behaviors? Okay. So since the vestibular system gives us all this information about our body, where is it in space, how is it, how do we move our hands and legs to execute an activity. So next we come to this thing called proprioception. So proprioception is the awareness or the sensory input that goes from the joints of our hands, legs, all the joints of our body. So a person who has poor proprioception or poor awareness going from the joints, like, if I have to open a container, I cannot look at a container and decide with what force I will open it. I need to touch the container to realize what force I need to use. And when I touch a pencil, I do not know with what force I have to write. I have to touch a pencil, crayon, whatever, sketch pen, and I have to decide with what force I have to put it on paper. That information is your proprioception. That information giving is your proprioception. Now, this is a very, again, a layman's example, that if you get pins and needles, your information from your joints is impacted. And what do we do when we get pins and needles? Pair so jata hai, haath so jata hai. What do? We actually shake. We shake it. We do a lot of hitting onto it to get the sensation back. Now, if you see a lot of our kids, they will have shaking. There is a lot of shaking. There is a lot of movement on the legs. They try to hit onto hard surfaces. So I've got a lot of kids who will sit on the chair and their legs will constantly be hitting on the table leg. So they are seeking impact. A lot of kids, they do it opening and closing of drawers. They open drawers, close it repeatedly. They'll be doing things. They will open doors and slam it shut. Anything which gives them repeated information to the joints. They will climb onto higher surfaces and jump down. Some of the children I see, amazingly, they sit on their knees, they bend, fold their knees, and they jump and land on their knees, which is absolutely a painful experience for most of us. But some of our children, they will sit on their knees and they keep jumping forward by bending their knees inwards, and they move forward that way. So so we make a note of these behaviors, and then once the picture is complete, we decide whether the child, what kind of intervention is needed. Now, the idea for this workshop is to give a little bit of an input to the parents, that how does it feel to be on that side of the sensory spectrum. Because most of us, where our sensory systems are organized, we do not get these experiences until and unless, what I'm trying to tell you now, these uh, are ways where our sensory systems do not get activated, right? So both our vestibular, that is our balance sense, or the body awareness sense, and the joint sense, they work together, because you cannot move your hands and legs without your body having sensory feedback in it. I'm not touching on the other sensory systems, because these were the three primary triad of things where we work on. Besides this, there is smell awareness. In terms of, when I say smell awareness, the child might have hypersensitivity to smell. So the moment you open your tiffin box, the child will gag, or might have poor registration, which means the child might keep seeking the smell. When they seek smell, they'll pick up everything and smell. They might touch private parts, underarms, and smell. Any toy they'll pick up and smell. So that is a sensory seeking behavior.
Food before eating.
Food before eating, even new toys
Non,
before
yeah,
eating.
non-food
Yeah,
items.
putting it in the mouth also.
Hmm.
So this chart that I've put up here is for progression monitoring. So mostly when we start off in this area. What I'm talking about is this column, the absolute left side. Auditory is sound sensitivity, vestibular, proprioceptive, tactile, and visual. I didn't speak about it so much, but some of the visual behaviors we see is um, looking at things through the corner of your eyes, flicking fingers, uh, taking wires and twirling it around, putting things in a line. These are all the behaviors we would see in a child who has visual sensory issues. Okay.
Dropping of
So,
objects, seeing the dropping objects,
yes, seeing dropping objects. So,
lights.
this entire column is where your OT starts working with. What will it improve? It improves eye movement, it improves the posture of the child. Many of your children have poor postural control, as in they are low tone, they try to always take support when they sit, they try to lie down. Um, Muscle tone, especially the core muscles, are often weak. So, all these areas we look into, these should show your improvement. So when your therapist is working with the child, the goal setting is done. It is often done in conjunction with the parent. So as a parent, you have the absolute right to ask your therapist, what are we going to be working on? And what is the improvement I am going to see? So please set goals with your therapist. Sometimes, as therapists, we also have our pressures. I might start seeing a child when the parent tells me, especially in this season, I have had 4 children's parents who said, ma'am, we've picked up the forms for admission, which means I have another 3 to 4 months to get the child settled down to enter the classroom, mainstream classroom. Now my pressures are, I have to probably work on this area. I will let go of auditory, I will let go of tactile, I will prioritize. But the mother might tell me that my child is not eating, ma'am. Can you take up this area? So then I'll have to inform the parent that I will take up the eating, but you will not see a change like this, or hence my reason for taking up these two areas is this. So it is a teamwork. It is never a therapist on the one side of the table and the parent on the other side. We would want to work as a team, always work as a team, because improvement of the child is the goal of both the parent and the therapist. And I think it is the biggest celebration when I see any of my children actually am able to say, you do not need therapy anymore. That is the biggest celebration point for any therapist.
Yes,
So
ma'am. Also, whatever we are working towards, we want the child to participate the same at home or in the school. So
yes,
parents over there play a very important role with us along in the child's development. So whatever we are doing, we want the child or the parents to follow the same at home. So the goals need to be in sync.
yes. So as you see in this thing also, it flows forward. So it goes on to speech and language, eye hand coordination. This is where the handwriting training starts. So I might have a child who's come for assessment, who's stuck in this column, and but they've come at the age of 6.5 or 7 years and their handwriting is poor. I will not be able to work on this area immediately. I have to go back here, and that needs to be explained to the therapist, to the parent as well as the child sometimes. And that as we move ahead, as we move into this column, then we hand over the child to a special educator, because as a therapist our work is mostly done then. Okay. So these things I have already discussed. Can we open it up for questions if there are any? Because sensory is a huge training program. We actually have sensory integration whole day workshops to explain the entire procedure and other things, what goes with it, what doesn't go with it. I have some pictures here, I think. One sec. Now let me talk about this a little bit. So what we can do to improve, outdoor activities really help. So swinging, slides, merry-go-round, monkey bars, alternate movements of the hand, they really help. And I have put this last point in this slide as because this is a question I've faced again and again. I don't know if any other therapist has faced it, but I've had parents coming and asking me, "Ma'am, आप झूला ही तो झुलाते हो, so मैं पार्क में झुला दूंगी. What is the difference?" So please, parents, understand that there is a difference, because in therapy we are not giving passive swinging. It's not just push and let the child move front and back. We have to do an adaptive response. We do an activity and there is a output. So there is an input swing and an output in our therapy. So that is something we would look at when we are doing therapy. And swinging in early stages actually activates speech and language as well. Activities like bicycle rides, piggyback rides, if you're taking your child and a small child on your back, atta bori as we call it in Hindi. Then a lot of these rough and tumble games, they are very good for vestibular intervention. For proprioception, things which give the activation to the joints. So push and pull activities, um, throwing activities. Again, when I say throwing, it has to be with appropriate things, not throwing anything, but throwing a ball, heavy ball. Pressures, firm touches. So you don't do this to your child. You can give pressure. You can give ear pressure. That also calms down. You can take the child's hand and press within your hands. That also calms down. Resistive activities, easiest thing. Some of this we've been doing during the lockdown at home because the children didn't have the option of going out. Moving furniture, picking up pillows, making the bed. So we can actually create a lot of options inside the house for doing joint pressure activities. So oral motor helps in calming. So sucking on things. Like if you see a lot of us even chew on chewing gums before you go for interviews, or it's constant. That helps to calm us down. Rhythmic movements. So people who do prayers or you do part, a lot of you will go back and forth when you do this. Rhythmic movement helps you to organize and calm down. So anything which, always think as a baby how you put your child to bed, you would probably take the child and rock. So that's the speed. You don't do fast rocking. Rhythmic, soft rocking, any rhythmic, soft rocking, soft movements are calming down. Okay, so I'm not going to get into this. Those are some of the swings. The bolster swing is really helpful. This one, it helps in developing your balance, your core muscles, vestibular, proprioceptive. It takes care of a whole lot of things in 1 or 2 activities itself. This is called a platform swing. This also takes care a lot of activities that we do, standing on your stomach, and it takes care of visual as well as your proprioceptive activities. And there are no cookbook strategies. We absolutely have to customize as per each child's need. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, we can answer those.
There are a few questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
So Pooja wants to ask. Pooja, I would, if you would like to ask directly, we can unmute you.
She has left the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So, the question was, I think others can benefit from the question. My child is diagnosed with minimum autism when he was 3 years old. Now he is 6 years. He goes to a regular school. Speech is also okay, but he is having fear of hair cutting, swimming pool, and any kind of challenge. What should I do? Please help.
Does your child have, since she's not here, one, we need to first look at it. Does the child have sound sensitivity? Because hair cutting, the trimmer and the scissor, it could be a fact which is causing the child to have some amount of fear factor for a particular activity. However, if it is not, we can do social stories that where the child is prepared with visual pictures about what is going to happen. From a sensory perspective, what has really helped with some of our children is we create these tissue paper hair. We would take a tissue paper, snip it up into like a wig, put it on the hair, and then we snip off a little bit from that front, which gives the child a feeling of my hair is not getting cut. However, I am getting inputs of the scissor, but it is not hurting.
We have another question from Dolly. My son is MR. He is 12 years. सारा दिन हिलता रहता है, right left body movement हिलती है. Due to that, he cannot focus in any activity or any work.
So Dolly, one is, I think, अगर आप therapist के पास जा रहे हैं, ask the person to teach you how to give deep pressure to your child. Deep pressure is one thing which will reduce this side to side movement या हिलता रहता है. Other thing which I can suggest here is use of a weighted jacket, which will actually reduce the movements, and it will help in calming down the child, help him in sitting down,
We have another question from Dia, and Dia is there. So Dia, would you like to ask yourself? Jalaj, if we can unmute Dia.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually my son is 7 years old. We've been taking him for therapy, but of late we have a garden on the terrace, and it's been like 3 to 4 months. He's just very picky about picking up those buds and throwing it off, picking up flowers. So is
Okay.
there any particular reason? I do shout at him for that, and try to distract him also, but it just doesn't register with him. He just gets something, and he realizes after I shout at him, he'll tell me in the night, yes, I did something wrong. But then again, the next day, he's back on plucking the buds and all this.
So is it only the buds, or it is full blown flowers as well?
Mostly the buds.
I think you can do a bit of touch sensitivity activities with him. You can start with touch recognition, if he's plucked out a few buds,
Okay.
keep it with you, and let's see the feel of the bud.
Yeah.
Like the bud of a marigold is different from the bud of a rose, and sometimes the children go for the textures. If you see a chrysanthemum or a dahlia, the buds are bigger,
Okay.
the closure of
Yes.
the buds is different. So
Okay.
you can play this game, collect those buds, keep it inside a bag, and don't show him. Let him put his hand in and feel and say which one is this, the red flower, or if he knows the names of the flower, and you can turn it into a game and say, smell it. This
Yeah,
one
yeah, he
smells
does
different
smell.
from
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to recognize by touch, but you say we've collected 10 buds, and this 10 buds is going to be used for 5 days, and then you can
Okay.
collect more buds.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll
Also,
try
some
that.
activities involving like pasting of the buds, or
Yeah.
some exploring some objects from the buds. So
But
fetching out
okay,
some
okay.
Yeah.
I
Pasting
try
has
to
been-
explain him in such a way that we get food from this, and so if you pluck it out, it's not going to give you food. But somehow I don't know.
he
It just. But
probably
this is a good
enjoys
idea.
the
I'll
feeling.
try.
Yeah, he enjoys the feeling. So make it
Yeah.
into a game, but say that we can't do it every day. We have to collect it. You have to
Okay.
like we pack away our toys after playing, like that. If you've taken the buds, you have to keep it in a box.
Keep
And
it in
you
a
can
box.
play with it. Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So next question is from Sri Leela. So Jalaj, can you please
Leela, you can ask your question now. You are on.
Okay. Hi. I have a case. All right. He has 8 years. Hello. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And he has fidgeted a lot, and he keeps moving and blinking to the tube light, and he tries to hold everything, and especially towards his mouth, and he just wants to have an elongated object in his hand. All right. And the moment it is being taken out, he starts crying, screaming, headbanging. So he is an ASD, typical ASD with moderate ADHD. So we are trying to work with this child, and because of lockdown, he has stopped all his remediations past 1 year. So this frigidity has increased. So the mother is a little worried, and she wanted me to help her out. So I thought it could, enhance by attending this. So this is my question.
So I know this last 1 year has been really tough on our kids,
Yes.
and I have used a lot of household materials for creating messy play environment at home. So rice has been one thing which has really helped, dry rice. And you can get the child to paint the rice. If you don't have paints, you use haldi so that you can create yellow rice. You can use beetroot peels to create red rice, and it becomes a visually engaging medium. So you have white, red, and yellow rice. You can mix it up. Instead of a tactile brush, this can be done.
All right.
Actually, when we play, what you're saying about the child clutching, which means the child has heightened sensitivity also. But of course, I'll need more information. I'm just going with that one thing that you're telling me, right? So I would start with a play which is more of a dry play, dry sensory input, and gradually move towards playing with wet mediums like soap. You can skim off the lather of the soap. If you're creating soap water in a bucket, that the top lather part of it you can skim off, and that you can give for playing. Other things which I've used with children at home is aloe vera. If you just snip off the aloe vera plant, and the inside part of the aloe vera has a lot of slime in it.
Yes.
So these are some of the things which are natural if the child puts it in the mouth as well.
Mhm.
Not the soap part of it, but the rice, the aloe vera, these things do not create any trouble. The another thing which has really helped is the chawal ka pani. When
Mhm.
you're draining the water out of your rice,
Mhm.
it is a slimy, thick, white starch material,
Mhm.
and we've put color drops in that to make it visually very enriching, and the child encouraging the child to play. So I would ask the mother that whatever he clutches in his hand, to put
Mhm.
it in that medium, but always go from dry to wet. You cannot start with slime immediately.
Yes, he doesn't like moist
Yeah,
things.
yeah. So you have to work with the dry material.
Mhm.
And as it is, why will a child work with dry material? Maybe that elongated container he has, if we fill it up with colored rice and it is a transparent container, you shake it, you can see it visually engaging, then probably the child will engage in a therapy like this.
All right. Thank you so much.
So next, Preeti wants to ask her question.
Yes, please.
Preeti, you can ask your question now.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. Hi.
My son is 5 years old and he had giving problem to nail cutting. वो बहुत रोता है मैम nail cutting में.
हाँ, हाँ.
और मैम वो sometimes sound से react करता है तो अपने ears भी push करता है, मतलब दोनों हाथों से push करता है. बाकी उसको थोड़ा writing issue है. तो उसका जो last assessment हुआ था मैम वो mild autistic था. उसकी therapies चल रही हैं, but what can I do at home to reduce this?
Nail sensitivity, one thing, and these I am telling you from practical experiences, जो मैंने अपने बच्चों के साथ try किया है. You can dip the nail in warm water before you cut, and give pressure. Hold the nail with a little bit of pressure, and then first start filing. Use a filer to just, and tell your child we are going to do it for 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Build the trust, because बच्चे को क्या है, बच्चे को पता है that whenever my mother comes with a nail cutter, it is a horrible feeling. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So
वो
you
बहुत हो
have
जाता है मेरे, मुझे पकड़ना पड़ता है, बहुत रोता है जब तक कटते हैं
so
nail.
don't say we are going to cut. You can do a modeling yourself also, that I'm going to be doing this first, and mama's turn, your turn, mama's turn, your turn.
Okay.
And do turn taking. But before that, for the sensory, you can do fingertip brushing. If you have a tactile brush, do fingertip brushing, dip it in warm water, give the pressure. Warm water reduces the hardness of the nail. It becomes very soft. When you give the pressure, it reduces the sensitivity, and then you can just do a filing. It will reduce the height of the nail.
Okay.
Okay. And gradually, as this gets integrated, then आप nail cutter use करिए, उससे पहले नहीं.
Okay, only filing से ही मतलब remove करने हैं nails.
अभी, for immediate, for this instance, yes.
Okay, मैम वो कानों के साउंड जैसे उसको कोई पसंद नहीं आता ना, तो कानों पे भी बार बार हाथ रखता है, तो उसके लिए क्या कर सकते हैं?
उसके लिए तो आपको थेरेपिस्ट से बात करनी पड़ेगी, बिकॉज देयर इज एन ऑडिटरी प्रोटोकॉल. साउंड सेंसिटिविटी के लिए पूरा प्रोटोकॉल होता है. ये मैं बिना बच्चे को देख के ना बताना मुश्किल होता है, बिकॉज
कभी कोई पर्टिकुलर
तो कोई पर्टिकुलर फ्रीक्वेंसी होगी जिससे उसको तकलीफ हो रही है.
मैम वो जैसे टॉयज से खेलता है ना, जो उन्होंने लाइट वाले टॉयज हैं, उसको चाहिए ही चाहिए, वो फिर उसे छोड़ता नहीं है, मुझे फिर छुपा के रखने पड़ते हैं. तो इसका मतलब ये भी
विजुअल सेंसिटिविटी होगी आपके बच्चे की, है ना. सो ये आप अपने थेरेपिस्ट के साथ बात करके इसको गोल प्लान में लीजिए कि हमें ये विजुअल से डिसएंगेज करना है जब उसको जरूरत नहीं.
वो मैंने सब डिस्कस किया हुआ है, बट मैं चाह रही थी घर पे जैसे हम कुछ एक्टिविटीज या कुछ घर पे करवा सकते हैं, तो जैसे मैं सेशन अटेंड कर रही थी, तो मतलब घर पे
नहीं. देखिए, एक्टिविटीज तो बहुत है, लेकिन माय ओनली चैलेंज हियर इज बिना बच्चे का पूरा पिक्चर जाने मैं आपको कोई एक्टिविटी बता दूं और वो कॉन्ट्राइंडिकेटरी नहीं होना चाहिए, है ना. जो साउंड का मुझे फ्रीक्वेंसी पता ही नहीं है कि आपका बच्चा कौन से फ्रीक्वेंसी पे रिएक्ट कर रहा है. सो दीज थिंग्स आर, नहीं तो बड़े सारे हम ट्यूनिंग फॉक से एक्टिविटी कराते हैं. ट्यूनिंग फॉक की फ्रीक्वेंसी होती है, उससे हम कान पे एक्टिविटी कराते हैं, लेकिन वो बच्चे के एबिलिटी एरिया को देख के कराई जाती है.
ओके ओके मैम. उसका राइटिंग स्किल्स भी मतलब होल्डिंग उसकी अच्छी नहीं है.
होल्डिंग के लिए आप फाइन मोटर आपको करा रहे होंगे, थेरापुटी या क्ले से एक्टिविटीज करा रहे होंगे।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
पसंद क्या है आपके बच्चे को?
उसको पसंद है बॉल से खेलेगा या मतलब स्लाइड पे झूलता है।
अच्छा, तो आप छोटे बॉल से भी खेलेगा? छोटे छोटे बॉल्स, मार्बल्स खेलेगा?
हाँ, सबसे खेलता है मैम।
तो मार्बल्स को एक डब्बे में डाल दीजिए, उसको
अच्छा।
ढक्कन खोलना करवाइए पहले, उससे आपका ग्रिप आ जाएगा।
अच्छा, छोटे वाले ढक्कन।
हाँ, कोक के बॉटल में मार्बल्स डाल दीजिए और उसको
अच्छा।
बोलिए अगर चाहिए तो वो कोक का ढक्कन खोलेगा और मार्बल्स निकालेगा, तो उससे आपका ग्रिप आ जाएगा।
ओके मैम, अभी ना जैसे मतलब वो मतलब उसकी स्पीच आ गई है, पहले जैसे वो 3 इयर्स तक बोलता नहीं था, बट
हाँ जी।
अभी मतलब ये तो बता देता है कि कहाँ गया था, बट ये नहीं बता देता है कि उसने वहां पे क्या किया, मतलब एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाता बेसिकली चीजें।
सो ये आपके स्पीच थेरेपिस्ट ज्यादा अच्छा बता पाएंगे या स्पेशल एजुकेटर, बिकॉज ये कॉम्प्रिहेंशन का एरिया आ जाता है।
ओके ओके, थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
ओके
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
Ma'am, there are too many questions and we are running short of time.
Yeah,
So,
let's take a few more and then I think we can.
Ma'am, Sakshi has raised her hand since a very long time.
Please,
I'll
Sakshi,
be
tell me. Yes, Sakshi.
Yes, ma'am. I am Himanshu's sister.
Huh.
Ma'am, my mother is sitting with me only, and I want to tell that my brother is 14 years old, and he tells his negative habits too much and irritates us. He don't have grip for handwriting also.
Okay.
And he is too talkative.
Okay.
He constantly talks and also repeats his habits.
Okay, तो आप ये कह रहे हैं कि that your brother is trying to always talk about his negative habits and he is constantly trying to get everybody else's attention by talking, right?
Yeah, by his bad habits.
Bad habits. Okay, what kind of bad habits?
Like, ma'am, जैसे he goes out in the park and then he मैम जैसे मतलब जैसे इसने मारा अभी किसी बच्चे को, तो बताएगा कि मैंने मारा है एंड ही पेज अटेंशन ऑन इट। और या फिर वो बाहर जाएगा, कुत्ते को परेशान करेगा, डॉग्स को। तो मतलब जैसे डॉग्स आते हैं पार्क में, बहुत सारे डॉग्स है, तो ज्यादा जान जान के हंसता है सब बच्चों के सामने, और ही मतलब वो बहुत मारता है। अगर कुत्तों को भी मारता है ना, तो देन जो बच्चे लड़के हैं वो लड़के बोलते हैं कि ये कुत्ता फ्रेंडली है, डॉगी फ्रेंडली है, तो आप क्यों उसे मार रहे हो? तो बस वही
आप
अटेंशन देने के लिए
भाई अटेंशन लेने के लिए मार रहा है, राइट?
हाँ, बार बार ही मारता है।
ठीक है, ठीक है। सो व्हाट इस सिचुएशन में देखिए, थेरेपी से ज्यादा आपके भाई को ना बिहेवियर, मतलब जैसे हम सोशल स्टोरी कहते हैं, आप साइकोलॉजिस्ट या उनके अगर स्कूल में स्पेशल एजुकेटर हैं, उनसे, काउंसलर से बात करिए। वो आपको पिक्चर, एक स्टोरी बना के देंगे जिसके थ्रू आप अपने भाई के साथ बात कर सकते हैं और उनको ये समझा सकते हैं।
अच्छा मैम।
और अगर सेंसरी इशू है तो सिर्फ एक ये बिहेवियर से मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, 14 साल मतलब बड़ा भी है, उसको भी समझ है।
मैम पहले तो वो बोल ही नहीं पाता था जब तक 5 इयर्स का था। तो जब मतलब उसका ना तलवा जो था चिपका पड़ा था, तो जब उसे कटवा दिया ना हमने, तो वो बोलने लगा।
So like to everybody out here, I cannot answer questions just on the basis of इतना सा इंफॉर्मेशन, यू नो। कई बारी हमारे हाथ बंधे होते हैं क्योंकि मैंने आपको गलत कुछ बता दिया, तो आपके बच्चे को, आपके भाई को परेशानी ज्यादा हो जाएगी।
I think, ma'am, what we can do is parents can leave their contact details in the chat box so that we can connect with them later.
Absolutely, absolutely.
This way
क्योंकि मुझे और डिटेल्स चाहिए होंगी यहाँ पे।
Yes, ma'am.
कितने साल का है, कितने सालों से थेरेपी चल रही है, हमारे चेकलिस्ट में कितने पॉइंट्स आ रहे हैं। Dolly wants to ask the question. Let's take this question last and then we can close the session. Yeah.
Ma'am, you take more questions. They are coming. Thank you.
हेलो
Yes, please.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
Good afternoon.
मैम मेरा बेटा थोड़ा MR चाइल्ड है. ही इज नॉट ऑटिज्म.
Okay.
है
Hmm.
आपका जैसे एकेडमिक नहीं है तो लो एकेडमिक नॉट मच मोर इम्पोर्टेंट. हम बच्चे को सेल्फ इंडिपेंडेंट बनाना चाहते हैं.
बिल्कुल.
ओटी का मुझे काफी टाइम लेट पता चला था भी ओटी क्या होता है. जब यहाँ पर मैं जाती भी थी तो वहाँ अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने उसको नहीं देखा. ये सब करते मुझे मोस्ट प्रोबेबली 8 इयर्स हो चुके थे. एंड सेकंड इसकी इसका एपिलेप्सी इशू भी था तो बहुत तो अब मुझे 3-4 साल हो गए ओटी कराते हुए. तो थोड़ा बहुत तो फर्क है बट जैसे अब सब यही कहते हैं भी इसको अब आप एकेडमिक पे मत जाइए. इसको सेल्फ इंडिपेंडेंट बनाइए भी खुद खा सके खुद पी सके. बट इसका मैम बिहेवियर इतना ज्यादा है. जैसे पानी पीना है पानी पी लेना बट बिहेवियर कि गिलास को उठा के फेंक देना है. खाना मतलब सेल्फ ईटिंग है तो उसमें भी यही होता है कि स्पून होल्डिंग नहीं है. और थोड़ा बहुत हम चलो सिखाते भी हैं कि चलो मैसी हो रहा है कुछ हो रहा है तो उसमें क्या करेगा कि प्लेट गिरा देगा. तो ऐसे मतलब कि आगे जैसे ये बड़ा हो रहा है तो उसको किस तरीके से सेल्फ इंडिपेंडेंट या कैसे कैसे इसको सिखाया जाए कि हाँ भी थोड़ा
देखिए, हाँ, अगर आप मेरे से पूछेंगे तो मेरा सिंपल यहाँ पे ये मानना है कि आप एक एक चीज करके गोल लीजिए. अगर आप चम्मच से पकड़ना सिखाना है तो चम्मच से पकड़ना ही सिखाएंगे. उसमें हम ग्लास भी पकड़ लें प्लेट भी पकड़ लें ये सारी चीजें नहीं होंगी.
ओके मैम.
और जब हम फंक्शनल की बात करते हैं, हाँ ठीक है, पढ़ाई एक एकेडमिक्स को छोड़ के फंक्शनल एकेडमिक्स जो होता है जिसमें हम टाइम का कॉन्सेप्ट मनी का कॉन्सेप्ट ये चीजें ये स्पेशल एजुकेटर बेटर बता पाएंगे. लेकिन बड़ा बच्चा है उसको पता है कि मेरे जितनी कमी वाली एरियाज है सारे दिन मम्मी थेरेपिस्ट वो लोग उसी चीज को फोकस करते रहते हैं. उसका कुछ ऐसा एरिया भी तो होगा जिसमें वो बहुत अच्छा होगा. उसके पीछे भी थोड़ा फोकस करिए.
ठीक है मैम.
हम लोग फोन पे किसी से भी बात करते हैं तो पहले ही बताते हैं आज इसने इतना परेशान किया सुबह से 2 ग्लास तोड़ दिए.
हाँ जी
पर
मैम.
जिस दिन वो ग्लास तोड़ेगा नहीं उस दिन क्या आप फोन करके किसी को बताएंगे आज ये बड़ा अच्छा बना था आज ग्लास नहीं तोड़ा.
हाँ जी मैम.
नहीं करते हैं. तो पहले प्लीज गिव द पॉजिटिव reinforcement then give the negative feedback.
Thank you मैम.
Okay, so I think we're done.
Yes, ma'am. I think the rest of the questions we can connect with the parents. They can drop their email address and contact number. We can definitely reach out to them. Ma'am, it was a very lovely, very enlightening session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And many people have written about writing. We will conduct a session for writing. तब आपके जितने भी questions है writing को लेके we will deal with it. So let us keep that open for the future and we'll handle all the writing, fine motor, speed of writing, board copying, all those things. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.